Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Julie.
And today we're talking about backsplashes. This looks almost like a pre-made vanity with marble countertop. So it comes with the countertop and you can opt in for the backsplash if you want. So this is a little bit more of, not builder grade, but pre-made. So it's predetermined that it comes with that. You don't have to install it, you could put something else. It's really common in bathrooms to do the countertop backsplash. It's clean, it looks nice, it does the job. It doesn't need to be super tall, like a kitchen. And with pre-made vanities, often the thickness is already thinner, so you don't have a big chunky countertop backsplash if you were getting it custom fabricated.
It also typically can come with the sink as well. So you're not having to get the sink cutout done. It's like it's already been cut out to perfectly fit the sink that is already in the vanity. Again, it just kind of eliminates another decision. If you just want to kind of buy a package deal of, I want a vanity with the countertop and the sink, sometimes even the hardware and the faucet, you can buy that all in one.
And you eliminate the fabrication, so install is a lot faster. You're not having a bunch of items that go in at different times. Yeah. It's like an all one and done kind of situation. Usually this is probably a 4. 4 is pretty standard. 6 is a little nicer in my opinion, if you can get it, but that's usually not what comes with a pre-made vanity. Usually they have a select few options. So this might be marble, real marble, and you have to think about the upkeep of that. They also usually offer quartz and some other colors if you wanted a more high contrast.
Yeah, I think the design of this and having the mirror be the same width as the vanity was a really good choice. It helps the bathroom wall feel kind of longer. It's like having the linear lines with tile, like there's a direction the line is going and your eye follows that direction.
Dekton is a sintered stone,
Yes.
So it's like a composition of naturally occurring material that's fired at a really high temperature, and it's really, really durable. A lot of people like to use it in their kitchen because it's basically indestructible. That doesn't mean it doesn't have its weaknesses. They have ones that mimic a lot of natural stone and marble and quartz, but then they also have their own unique styles too that are very specific to the brand. Do you know exactly why the client wanted this material?
Yeah, so they wanted like a really minimalist, like Japandi, like almost concrete look, but they didn't want to use concrete.
Okay.
And so this material, they saw a sample of it in the showroom and were like, we want to use that. We want it to look like that.
Okay. So it also had to do with the finish.
Yes, this is a really, really aesthetic choice for this client. They really cared about the texture and the finish and for it to have a concrete look, but not actually be concrete.
And it didn't have a polish finish, right? It was like oh wait, okay.
Yeah, it was matte.
That miter cut on the corners, that was probably really tricky.
Well, and just like cutting this so perfectly. I mean, anytime you're doing something that's a slab and they template it multiple times during this process, but cutting that slab exactly to fit in there after, whether they put that slab in first and then these pieces, or these pieces and then this back piece, no matter what order you do it in, it's complicated. And Dekton particularly, it's difficult to cut. It's a very dense material. Templating is what occurs after the cabinetry has been installed typically, that allows the countertop manufacturer to get a very precise cut for your countertop. Because there are often times in the field where maybe the cabinetry goes in a little bit differently, or there's some field modifications that have to be made. So whatever plan set the countertop fabricator is working off of might not be exactly to the inch what is actually in the space.
Because the one thing with Dekton and other materials like this, it's not a through body design.
Yes.
So that's something you have to think about for aesthetic purposes. So what did they do on the niche sides and top?
No, I would say with this Dekton, it's not significantly different in color. There's not the variation that it has,
color, okay.
But the body color is actually very, very similar to the finish color. So I would say in this case, this worked.
But if it was a white,
Yes.
or
or anything heavily veined, if you did this and you did not miter this corner, you would have a big white
strip, which could blend in if the backsplash is white, but
it's one of those you really have to be careful and thoughtful with design and think about not just does this fit here, but how is every part of this, including the edges, going to look when it's done, and designing how you want the Dekton put in around that.
This is fairly similar to what any other countertop backsplash would look like, except for the specialty niche that's behind there. It's really common. You find it in a lot of like pre-made vanities where it comes with this little backsplash just to protect your wall right above where your sink usually is. So yeah, you could do a tile backsplash. This is a fairly unique large format tile backsplash that's obviously very linear, really makes the room feel tall. And it kind of just it's almost like for me, I go top down, which is interesting because you would think that the gray on the bottom would be like a grounding point and then you go up.
Do you think maybe though, because it's bottom heavy, so it feels more, and it's light dark, so it
really
feels
like
more
the
like
ground.
earth sky, so you're automatically looking up?
Maybe. I mean, all backsplashes technically are to protect your walls from water, spills, pasta sauce, who knows.
Their functional purpose, yeah.
But they are also decorative. And so with a countertop backsplash, a lot of times it's very, very common. It's like a 4 or 6 inch. But when you're doing a custom countertop, which is usually what you're matching, you have to pay attention to the thickness of the material that you're putting on. So Dekton tends to be a little bit slimmer, so this is probably okay, but usually your countertop, if it's like a quartz or something, is usually 3 cm, so it's a little bit thicker. And if you just slap that on as a backsplash, you might notice, wow, that's actually really thick for a backsplash.
Yeah, it's too chunky, like it's visually jarring.
Yeah, you also have to pay attention to, will the sink still fit? Will the faucet still turn on? Because it has this extra thick part behind there.
Like, it's a really cool remodel.
Mid-century kind of, trendy with the like high contrast black and white.
It's like minimalist, mid-century, modern.
Yes, modern, yeah.
Yeah, it's very modern without like being like blocky, like brute modern. It's a really cool like basket weave, but isn't this a mosaic?
Yes, so it's a mosaic versus the first one we looked at was individually set tiles of a subway shape. The second one was splash, so it's like a solid material, or a countertop backsplash, solid material. And then the hall bath had a large format, which is huge pieces of tile on the wall. This is a mosaic, so it's on a sheet. So all those little tiles aren't hand placed, they are on a sheet, so it's helping you a little bit, but you get a more decorative look. This is more of a more like a textural for me because it's all white, and I think they've chosen potentially white grout. So from far away, it probably looks like a white backsplash. And then if the light catches just right, or you get up close, you can see, oh no, this has more texture, it's a basket weave. And it kind of adds movement to a space that doesn't really have a lot going on in terms of bold statements, like the materials are fairly flat. Color blocking in the backsplash is a color block, but when you get up close, you're like, oh, actually, this has a lot more visual interest to it. So yeah, from far away though, see that looks white to me.
Yeah, you can't even see it, which I actually think is cool because it adds to this like really minimalist aesthetic, but there's still a texture on the wall. It's not just flat, which is the other cool thing when you have a tile like that, because this one probably didn't have completely flat edges or 90-degree corners, is that you do end up with just a little bit of shadow, so you do still see the pattern a little bit more. I think the black, the matte black with like the gold and then that range, it just looks really, really luxe. Also, anytime you have metal and it is reflecting light, it immediately adds to like the whole feel. Like if that was matte black, it'd be fine in there. It would look nice, but the gold makes it look really nice. Yeah, I think it balances out like how minimalist and flat, and there's a lot of very large cabinet doors in here, and the poles are all, it's hard to tell, but the poles look very like linear and straight, maybe with a little roundness to them, but I think that the backsplash just adds that little bit of texture.
Okay, so it's interesting. We don't get to do this as much. Well, I don't get to do it as much anymore. From school, we really like dug into the details of design. To me, it feels like the pantry is like vertical and then the lowers are horizontal. And that is almost mimicked in the backsplash, which is kind of cool. It's like a subtle thing. I don't know if the designer thought about that, but the lines are going like this and then they switch to this, and it's kind of,
well, and the whole kitchen is like this L shape, which is also mimicked in the tile, which is cool.
I don't think they went full height at the window again. It's a large space, something to think about when you have vaulted ceilings. See how this is like blocking the tile from going up because it's full height to the ceiling? That's a way to get the tile down from the ceiling, but for vaulted, I mean, you might be going real tall if you have it open and you want that look of the tile behind the range.
I think then you'd run into like, where do you stop? Because this cabinetry stops here. If you end up with the line across up here, I think that would not, it would break up the ceiling too much.
They chose well to go just the height of the upper cabinets, then up a little bit for the range, so it gives a little bit of hierarchy, and then down again around the window and just straight across. It's nice that they added the round globes and some art that's maybe around in the furniture and the stools. I kind of soften it up a bit because I agree it's very hard and solid. It feels very bulky and straight. The backsplash is straight lines. The cabinets are straight lines, the countertop. So it's nice that they blended it a bit with some soft round things. So it's more of a balance.